So I am on the first row. And then, I try to, think and try to find the most comfortable position. And then suddenly I feel someone whipping my back with like branches. And I didn't realize that there's buckets of water on both sides of those benches. And there's like birch trees branches there that are dipped into the water. And then they use that for the blood flow and to, activate the blood circulation. And so there's a young woman behind me, which is like, having fun and, whipping my back with the branches. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he said, oh, but this is for your blood flow circulation. And I'm like, I think my blood flow is really well. I have no need. I'm good.
Welcome to the Where Have You Been podcast. I'm your host, Bill Ream, and each week on the pod, I have conversations with incredible guests from all walks of life. Expect to hear funny, crazy, emotional, life-changing, and even sometimes life-threatening stories and experiences that will entertain and inspire you. As always, I appreciate your likes, subscriptions, ratings, and reviews wherever you are listening. It doesn't sound like much, but it truly helps the pod get to the ears of more people who may enjoy it. And check out the website, whybpodcast.com, for links to the socials where you can find pictures from the guests and their stories, and also buy merch if you're so inclined. Now let's get to this week's episode. Thank you for being here. All right, welcome back into another episode of the Where Have You Been podcast. Today I have another first. It's not the first time that I've had a podcast host. It's not the first time that I've had an author on the show, but it is the first time that I've had a true culinary storyteller. And I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am because I love travel and I love food almost as much. And so I have Emmanuel on the podcast today. And if you would be so kind, welcome and thank you for being here. And if you would tell our listeners, who are you?
First, thank you very much, Bill, for having me, on your show. I'm delighted to be a guest. Yeah, so, the way how I can talk about myself is that I am in charge of marketing and sensory consumer insights at a global food ingredient company focusing on flavors and other natural extracts by day. And I am, I would say, a podcaster and a writer, author by nights and weekend. So that's, my passion. So, so that's, you can tell from my accent that even if I live in Jersey, I definitely do not have a Jersey accent, nor a name, that sounds very American, but I am French and American. I was born in the US, in France. And then I moved to the US 24 years ago. So that's who I am.
And what brought you to the U.S., can I ask?
Sure, of course. Work. In fact, the company I work for is a German-French company, and I worked 7 years with them, first in Europe, based in France, but I travel, all around Western Europe for work. And then I had always in back of my mind to come back to the U.S. because I did a year after my studies and college in France. I came to Wisconsin for a year. I really loved the pace of business, the contact with the people. And I said, hey, I really would like to come back. And there was an opportunity to lead the marketing team. And 23 years ago, they said, do you want to come? And I'm saying, yes, here I am. I'll go on the plane and I haven't been back. I'm for, let's say, vacation and see my family, there and back to France. But I decided to stay. So the adventure that should have been for 6 years, in fact, is still here 23 years after. Extended. Yeah. Extended. Yeah. Absolutely.
Just out of curiosity, does work actually keep you in Jersey specifically? Or could you move around the country? Do you like Jersey? Jersey gets a bad rap sometimes,
Yeah, I know. And so I am based in Jersey because the regional headquarters for the company is in Jersey. But I have the chance to travel quite a bit and I love traveling for work. So I have been to 48 states in 23 years, either for vacation or for work. But, yes, I mean, Jersey, I mean, come on, it's called the Garden State. So people have a vision of New Jersey because they see the turnpike. Obviously, they have seen everything with the Sopranos. So or they call it the Chemical Valley, like along the Hudson River. But I live 20 minutes west of Newark Airport, and I have woods in my backyard, and I have deers and foxes and raccoons and chipmunks, and so it's really like nature. And if I go another maybe, I don't know, 5 miles, then this is farms territory, and a lot of horse farm as well. And so it's really the Garden State. So it's in fact, it's beautiful. Not in January and February. I hate those months.
Yeah, I was going to say the gardens are probably struggling right now.
Yep. So that I always love to see March 1st on the calendar. I'm like, okay, we are getting there.
Turning the corner.
We're getting better.
So where do we begin? So you have a podcast. You also are author of one book. We'll make that 2 books.
Correct? 2 books now. Yeah. 2 books.
Fresh off the press.
Fresh off the press, the last one. Yeah. So the last one is called A Taste of Madagascar. And so the culinary riches of the Red Island. And I'm sure we are going to go back to it. And then I published my first book in 2022, and it's called Conversations Behind the Kitchen Door. So it's still, it's always like in the food space. And it really started from the podcast that I launched in 2018 called Flavors Unknown. And I publish it only every other week because, I do that on top of my job. So I decided to have that frequency from the get-go. And I have conversations with, like we are having tonight here, with acclaimed chefs and pastry chefs and mixologists from around the country. And some of my colleagues at the beginning of the podcast, maybe after 6 or 7 episodes, says, "Oh, you should write a book. You have fantastic content." And I'm like, "Sure, I'll do it when I have 5 minutes." And then, but it was, in the back of my head, and I started to think about, what it could be, how I would structure it. And then, COVID hit. So, I used the time of COVID to write the book. So it took me 22 months to write the manuscript. And so it's really it's anchored on conversation with like 50 chefs, pastry chef, mixologists, and looking at the food culture in the US today, and talking about the people behind the bar or in the kitchen, and how they approach food, what their creative process, their leadership's approach to managing teams, and a reflection that I have on food in America, knowing that when I'm coming back to France every year, I usually have people, friends, family, relatives that when I said that I have a podcast about food, they said, "What? No, America food? I mean, what, you talk about burgers, pizza, and hot dog?" And I'm like, no, there's a bit more than that. So I think I was a little annoyed to have that kind of comments. And I'm like, okay, I need to write a book about the great, in fact, food culture beyond fast food, and that there's a lot of great chefs here, and I love their approach to food because they are very creative, and they are not really leaving the pressure of like years and years and decades or century of French culinary tradition, and so they authorize themselves to to venture into interesting ways of cooking, and I think very creative. So I love the approach of, the way how people cook here in the US.
Tough question for you. What if you had to pick 1 or 2 of your favorite culinary cities in America?
Oh boy. I'm going to make some enemies here because I have French chefs like in most of the, from the West Coast to the East Coast and going south. That's
why I said, I had a feel. That's why I said it'd probably be a difficult question to answer. But
in terms of I think at the moment, the culinary scene, places that I really like, I think probably I would say Austin. I think Austin in Texas has a fantastic culinary scene with a lot of great chef, and there's a tradition obviously of barbecue, Texas barbecue, but reinvented with different influences. So you find some food trucks with an African influence on barbecue. I've seen another one which is still Africa, but it's like Egypt. So there was an Egyptian twist on barbecue. There's, and then of course fantastic. For me, the best biscuits. Sorry, I'm going to have maybe a lot of enemies now as well here, but I love the biscuits in Austin. And so Austin is one. I think Nashville would be another one, which there's some great chef as well. And the city is very dynamic, changed quite a lot. You asked me too. It's tough, huh? So I said Seattle, there's some good stuff. Miami, there's some good stuff as well. The food scene in Miami has changed. I think, since I arrived in the US, I've seen a lot of changes there. Yeah. So, and of course, awesome. My backyard is New York City. So,
right.
So
that would have been cheating, though, I think. It's right
that's
next
why
door,
I live, I have to mention it, though, but that's, at the end.
Yeah. I mean, New York is obviously like, when people think of the food scene in the States, that's probably one of the first places they think of. But
sure.
And I've experienced Austin. I'll actually throw in San Antonio to near
true.
Austin.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They have a fantastic, like Mexican food scene there is just out of this world. And there's barbecue too, but it's more of the
restaurant called Mixley, which mean I think cloud, and it is one of the great culinary fine dining or Mexican influence, which in San Antonio that I love. But I found a great place in Cleveland. There's a great place in Portland. There's So I have usually Washington DC. There's some good stuff as well. So I have my list. So if you see my Google map, it's like yellow stars like everywhere. I have pockets like all around the country.
Excellent. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm not even kidding about this. When I travel throughout the U.S., I'm going to have to send you a message before I go somewhere and say, here.
Believe me, you won't be the first one.
Excellent.
There's not a week when I'm not giving like a restaurant or a bar or a brewery, a coffee place, as an address, for someone going somewhere. So.
You know what? And it probably, I don't know you that well, but I'd imagine it probably doesn't even bother you. Like I love when people ask me, like when I go, if they're going somewhere that I've been and they ask me for advice, obviously I'll tell them, hey, you need to find your own places too, because I haven't been everywhere, but do some exploring. But
absolutely.
I love giving some tips from where I've been. So
yeah, same. Absolutely. And, food is about connecting people. So, so I love that.
Yeah, me too. Well, so how do people find your book? How do they find your
good question,
podcast? And how do they find you, like with socials and things like that?
Sure. So the book, I make it easy on the new one. It's I created like a page called atasteofmadagascar.com, which is in fact connected to my like overall, let's say, website called flavorsunknown.com. where they can find all the episodes, of the podcast. They can find the pages for the two different books. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it's Flavors Unknown, to make it easy. And then, of course, they can find me on LinkedIn, under my name.
Excellent. And I'll put everything in the show notes too. I just like to put it out there because some people don't read the show notes. If they're on the fly and they just want to look you up real quick, they can do that. This is excellent. I really am so genuinely excited to talk to you for the next hour or so.
Thank you.
Let's get started with a question I ask everyone is, obviously travel was a part of your life once you were into your whatever 20s or whatever, because you moved to the US or whatever age that was.
A little bit older than that 20s.
It was older than that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I can see you. You don't look a day over 45.
No. Yeah, absolutely.
So, but when did travel become a thing? Was it a thing for you when you were younger? Did your family travel, or was it something you did mostly for work? Is that how it started?
No. It's a good question. In fact, and I think I talk about it on the first book, is that so my father was French and Greek and Latin teacher, so he had like all the the school holidays. And I'm the youngest of the 4 kids, and my siblings were already gone when I started to, have memories. I have like a lot of years of difference. I am the mistake. So and the lucky one, I hope. But every time we had time off, from schools, then and my mom was not working. I mean, she was working, at home, and of course spend a lot of time in the kitchen with her, and probably you can talk about that as well. But we were always traveling to see my siblings. So I had siblings in Burgundy, in the middle of France. We were based out of like the large suburb of Paris. And then we had family in the northeast part of France. So like Alsace, not too far from, Germany. And then we had a family vacation home near the French Riviera. So we spent time a lot, like going into those places. My parents love to travel, so we went to Switzerland a lot, the German side of Switzerland a lot when I was a kid. So I think I got the bug of travel at that time, and then they were very much food focused as well. So it was always about discovering, food and enjoying the food that my siblings or the family was cooking, in their kitchen. So there was always travel and food connected for sure since I'm, a kid.
Can I ask you a question real quick too? Thought of this. So living relatively close to Paris, as we do a lot of times as Americans, when you live close to a city, you sort of take it for granted. Like it's there and we can go visit it anytime we want, but we really don't appreciate it, I guess. No. Yeah. And even my own hometown, like I moved away from there to move to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I appreciate it much more now that I've been gone for 15 years. Do you feel like it was kind of like that as you grew up, or did you really know what you had in your backyard?
My parents didn't go there very often. I lost my dad when I was young, when I was 11, 12 years old. So I'm still surprised thinking about it, that my mom left me take the train on my own when I was probably 15 or 16 and go to Paris, which is about 30 minutes train ride. And so I went there on my own to explore. But, I think I discovered Paris after, because when I was 17, we moved to the south of France, so to this, house in the south. And so I went to do all my college time in Nice, not too far from the Italian border. So we were far from Paris at that time. So then Paris was not in the picture anymore. So I did spend time when I was more like a teenager. I went to the cafe and, buy French baguettes and croissant and, that type of things. But I think I discovered it later when I was an adult and the work took me to the Paris area. So then I spend more time exploring, or even now, if I have regularly meetings, I have the chance to go back to Paris. Most of the time, our global meetings takes place in Paris. It's easy for everyone around the world to connect to. So I continue exploring. But you are absolutely correct. Is usually, when you live close to a place, you said, I have time to get to it. I don't think that I've at that time been to the top of the Eiffel Tower, for instance. I think I went there later. So, because you said, I get to it. So going back to your, just maybe to finish the question of travel, obviously it accelerated a lot when I started working and I discovered the world of flavors. And when I started working in the south of France, in the town of Grasse, which is kind of the hub for fragrance and perfumery and flavors industry. And I fell in love with it. I'm still working in that industry today. But then I had the chance that I was able to connect my passion for food. I didn't mention, but I study before business, I studied chemistry. So there's a chemistry aspect as well there. And then obviously travel. So I had the chance when I started working to travel all over Europe. So I spent a lot of time in Scandinavia. So Finland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and then the UK and Spain. And then of course, Italy, France, Germany. What else I've done? Netherlands. So yeah, so that was I had the chance to explore food in those areas as well.
Yeah, excellent. Those were the places that you went to when you were living still in France.
Yeah, when I was based there. So I would say
perfect.
Before 2002.
One more question before I get to the title of the podcast itself, and you've already answered part of that, but just because I'm very interested, can you expand a little bit more on what your actual job is? Like, what do you actually do with food and flavors, and what is your...
Sure. So I'm in charge of marketing and what we call sensory consumer insights. So the idea is that so as a consumer, like if you go to the grocery store and you buy ice cream, yogurt, sauces, culinary meals, whatever it is, snacks, chips, or if you go to the fast food like a QSR, so that stands for quick service restaurant, and then fast casual restaurants. So everything that's going to have like a sauce, in the burger, or I don't know, like in a dish or whatever. All of that has obviously a taste, correct? You buy chips, you have barbecue chips, you have sour cream and onion, you have strawberry yogurt, vanilla ice cream. So all those terms that I mentioned, ready to a taste, are not manufactured by the people that are making the food. So not all the brands that you are buying from, they are made from companies like the one I work for. And so that's the industry of flavors. So what happened is that we extract or we formulate, the same way the industry of fragrance have perfumers, the industry of flavors have flavorists. And those people are trained to be able to formulate like a strawberry flavors that has usually about an average like 400 components, organoleptic, components. So those people are really genius on, taking what nature is giving us and making sure that we can be applied to the food that we are eating. So
please tell me you get to sample.
Of course, yes, a lot.
Excellent.
So in fact, we do a lot of extraction, natural extraction. So, and you are going to hear that's the connection with Madagascar. But if you take beverage, there's a lot of citrus. So we work a lot with these citrus growers in Argentina, Brazil, south of Italy. When you think about culinary, there's a lot of onion. So we work a lot with the farmers that are growing onions in the northeast part. North part of Germany, because our headquarters is located there. And then vanilla, is key for everything dessert, ice cream, yogurt, dairy, related. And the hub for vanilla beans is Madagascar. Madagascar produce 80% of the total production of vanilla around the world. So that's a lot. So that's what, in fact, took me to Madagascar, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But so my job is really to engage with the food manufacturers. So take any food manufacturers, and I don't want to mention any names here, but it's to promote and show the capabilities that we have. And as well, new ideas. So we always present new trends, what's happening in the markets. We do a lot of research with consumers. Even if we don't sell to consumers, we have to understand what consumers like, and if they go to fast food restaurants, if there's anything else that we should be proactively presenting to the people that are developing the menus, and say, hey, there's a new trend, at the moment, and maybe you should think about this. Or same thing for spirits companies, same thing for snack companies, and so on. So it's pretty exciting. It's trying to stay in contact with what I like, the new trends, what's up and coming, and then and presenting this to say, hey, potentially this is like a new ideas for your brands or for your menu, and then of course we'll be happy to sell you the flavor. So that's what I do. So I spend a lot of time engaging with customer. I spend a lot of time with engaging with consumers, and as well with chefs. And that's the connection, because a lot of trends starts at the restaurant, starts at behind the bar, in a bakery, and those people are very creative, and some of the things that are going to come up at the restaurants are going maybe to be taken by like an article in the media, and then suddenly the consumers are going to get interested. Then the people that are in food service, usually start there first, are going to develop new things on the menu, and then later people that are more in retail, so what is in grocery stores, may take that idea as well. So for us, it's very important to stay connected to to what's happening at the restaurants and the bar. So yes, we do a lot of tasting. My kids and the friends of my children's are always looking at my Instagram and said, how can we get the job that your dad has? So it's, and I said, yeah, but you only see that part. That's not only that, but that's true that I have the chance to go around the country, and that I'm going to the West Coast. I'm leaving, Saturday. I'm going to do Seattle, San Francisco, LA, engaging with customers. I'm going to sign books as well, because, there's the promotion of the new book on bookstore, but, so travel is always part of the work.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to
I hope I answer your question on what I do.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's very fascinating, and it's like you kind of know that there's people behind the scenes that are doing things like that, but you just don't think about stuff like that all the time. So I love that you're doing that. It's just really intriguing to me. So let me ask you the question that I ask everybody we kick off like the main part of the show with, which is, Emmanuel, where have you been? And again, you mentioned some places that you've been when you were still working in the south of France, but is there anywhere else in the world that you've been? And we can actually start, once you're done or ready, with Madagascar if you'd like to, or we can start wherever you feel comfortable.
Sure. I mean, so I'm very curious in nature, and I love interacting with people and learning different culture. And for me, learning the culture starts always with food, and that's my angle, obviously. So I'm always curious. Last week I was in Mexico City, which is one of the most exciting food destination in the, I would say, maybe Central North America. Part. So if people are looking for, what's up and coming and some creative things, please go to Mexico City. First, it's not dangerous, because I don't know how many times I heard that question. Oh, no, it's too dangerous. I'm like, no, it's not. It depends where you go. Like any big city, you go to New York, in some area, you should probably be, pay attention. Same thing in Paris and so on. But if you stay in a district like Roma Norte, like Condesa, it's amazing in what you can discover. So I'm always curious, and I mean, we can talk obviously about Madagascar, because that's my my present, I would say, promotion of the book, which is out, and everyone can find the book online wherever they buy books. I as well will say that I recommend to buy books as well from small bookstores. There's fantastic food bookstore in main cities around the country. That's where I'm going to have some book signings. You have some in Seattle, you have some in LA, in San Francisco, in New York, in Miami, in Chicago, in Boston, in Washington, D.C., in Atlanta, in Savannah. So look for those bookstores, because those people are doing a fantastic job of curating, great books around food. So of course, cookbooks, but not only cookbooks. And, we make sure that they survive. But so Madagascar is, what do you want to know? What do you want to know about Madagascar?
Well, so work brought you there. Is that correct?
Yeah. Work brought me there.
But something happened there that was, it had to have been something more than other places, or something different than other places.
Yeah, sure. So, we can talk about why work brought me there. So obviously I mentioned that, 80% of the vanilla comes from Madagascar. Vanilla beans come from Madagascar. So in my role of head of marketing, here in the US for the company. I launched before COVID competition where we invited chefs, pastry chefs and mixologists to create new recipes using our vanilla extract and vanilla beans. And about, I would say, 80 individuals participated. So we received recipes. And then the price was that I was taking 3 of them closer to the source of vanilla, so then to Madagascar. So I took Chef Elizabeth Faulkner, who is based in LA, Chef Michael Gulotta, who is based in New Orleans. And at that time, the mixologist Shannon Tibet was based in London after being like the beverage director at Death and Company in New York. Now she's in Las Vegas. Anyhow, so I took them there, and yeah, we spent time with the vanilla farmers, of course, in the company that are curating the beans, and we do a lot of tastings. We met some of the great chefs and mixologists from the capital of Madagascar, and the name is Antananarivo, so it's a long word. And so that was a fantastic trip. But when I was there, going back to your question, is that I discovered that it was more than vanilla. I discovered suddenly that Madagascar is as well the second producer after Brazil when it comes to pink peppercorn. By the way, there's cocoa. So cocoa beans, to make chocolate. And it's very minor in terms of production, but they have a very refined variety of cocoa beans with a very great taste. So I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. And then there were honey, a lot of variety of honey, because Madagascar has the particularity to have a unique fauna and flora, biodiversity. About 90% of it doesn't exist anywhere in the world. So you find honey from mangrove, you find honey from lychee, honey from primary forests, honey from trees that, I will not even pronounce the name of the tree. And there's caviar as well. I discovered that there was 11 tons of caviar produced in Madagascar on a yearly basis, and other things. And I'm like, oh, but those products end up in chef's table around the world, as well as maybe, consumers as well in their kitchen. And people don't really realize that it's coming from Madagascar. And when I talk so that was kind of like the idea that started. And then, on the flight back from Madagascar to New York, which is long, it's 10 hours from Madagascar to Paris, and then 8 hours from Paris back to New York. So I had the time to think. And I thought that, hey, you know what? I've discovered so much things that I should not keep that to myself. And there's a topic for that second book. So I reach out to people that I make connection with. Some started to become friends. And I said, hey, I have an idea. I would like to write a book about your country and all those great products and the face of the people, behind those ingredients. So they were so excited. They said, okay, when are you coming back? So I went there in October 2022 for the first trip, and I went back on vacation in May 2023. So not really 6 months after. And then again, my third trip in June 2025, so last year. And wow. So I can say I went for vanilla, but I stay for all the other ingredients. And I think I came back for the human story behind those ingredients.
So culinarily, Madagascar is a very special place, but it sounds like it's more than just that. And obviously, we don't typically talk about food stuff on here. So, and which I'm not, it is what it is. This is your life, and so I love it. But so tell me, if you can, what other ways did Madagascar touch you? Any other experiences or stories that you have of being there that just had an impact on you?
Definitely. I mean, first of all, maybe we need to think that's people don't realize sometimes where it is located. So it's 250 miles from the east coast of Africa. So it's in the beginning of the Indian Ocean. And then it's in between Africa and Madagascar is what we call the Mozambique Channel. And there's, it's the size of Texas, just to have an idea. It's the 4th largest island, on the planet. And there's 30 million people living there. And there's 18 tribes because I'll come back to that as one of the stories. 18 tribes, in like across, the different regions. Very, very diverse landscapes, because you have kind of in the middle of the island, you have this chain of mountains. And so you have high plateaus. The capital is, in fact, is on the elevation, which means even if it's located where it is, it could be very cold. I mean, very cold. Not like here now in New Jersey, but like it's colder, in the evenings and in the morning. But then, so there's a lot of, as well, like primary forests. And then you go on both sides from that chain of mountains, and then you go to the shore, which become very tropical, a lot of palm trees. The north is very lush. There's a lot of, tropical forests. And then when you go further south, then it's getting a little bit, arid and, still some vegetations and so on, but completely different style. I found, for instance, the south, some landscape that reminding me of some of the landscape in Mexico, with like fields of, it looks like agave. It's not, it's a different type of agave, but, those very desertic fields with, some mountains at the horizon. And then you have the fields of agaves, that you can see in front of you. So you have really, a relatively small territory, a high variety of landscape. And the other things that I loved is the people. It's a poor country, but the people are always smiling. They are always welcoming you, to their home. They don't have sometimes a lot of things to share, but they will gladly share their meal, with you. And I had the chance as well to have a guide that is, from a local person, someone who became my friend that has a lot of connections there. So he introduced me to the farmers, the beekeepers, the entrepreneurs. And I went to places that, I would not have discovered. So once if I would have been only a tourist. So one story there is on my last trip, now when one of the chapter that was for me the most difficult to write because of the content, it's about an animal called zebu, which is a hunchback cattle, which is very iconic in Madagascar. They are everywhere, very important for meat, but as well part of their traditions. There is a lot of culture around it. It's a representation of wealth as well. Those animals could be sacrificed for, like, if someone is marrying their kids, or, if there's a death in the family, and all the family brings together like around, the meal. So for me, it was interesting because my first trips was more about the food part of that animal. So, I ate it in skewers, in stews, in carpaccio, in the capital, in some of the restaurants, but I didn't have really enough, I want to say, meat, on the bone for that topic. And I said to my friend, on the third trip, I need to go somewhere in the south because that's where most of the cattle are. So he said, okay, yeah, I will organize that. First of all, we went to like one of the largest markets where farmers are bringing those cattle and, from young to adults and selling them. That was very impressive. I was the only probably white guy on the entire, market. And then there was not one woman either. So it was interesting. And then one morning after that, he said, I have a surprise for you. And I'm like, okay, what is it? So we were at breakfast and he said, I have organized that you are going to meet, and not a lot of people have done that. So I had this opportunity. You are going to meet like the chief of one of the tribe called the Bar tribe. So it's Bara. And they are very much in the, they are nomads. So when they are, moving like, all those cattle from different parts of the island. And, we are going to spend time in his house, and then you can ask him like all the questions you want. And I'm like, oh, wow. That was a little stressful because there is still a tradition in that tribe, which is the rite of passage for a male, I would say, teenager that, becoming a man before getting married, and is the fact that they have to show their strength. So they are going to other villages and they are in fact capturing those cattle, from other farmers and other villages and bring them back to their own. I have heard a lot of story from my first trips that sometimes, it turns bad situation and people are wounded and sometimes even people are killed. So I'm like, okay, maybe I would love to have that conversation. So I said, you sure I can ask whatever you want? And he said, I want. He said, yeah, sure. So we arrive in this little village. So you have to imagine, and I know it's difficult. There's a picture of it in the book because I talk about that story. But it's a group of house, and there's a big tree, and I learned after it's a sacred tree. There's I don't know, there's maybe 12 houses, and those houses are very tiny. They are built by a blend of soil, dirt, whatever they can find. And there's usually like one major room. There's a smaller one for where people sleep, and there's absolutely nothing in the room. There's only one plastic chair and a table in a corner. That's where the chief is sitting. I enter the room, I sit on the dirt, on the floor, which, there's no floor. It's like dirt. And my friend is next to me, and I have my recording device and I have a mic, and he has the other mic, and I talking to him in French. He's translating in Malagasy, and the chief is, answering in Malagasy back to him and so forth. And then I ask a lot of questions on, that was for me a fantastic opportunity. Of course, people can read the whole story in the book, what I learned about, how they approach life, how they see the evolution of modern life, impacting, their life as in a tribe. And then suddenly, when I was talking with the chief, there's, a younger man that enter, and he had a big machete with him. And I'm like, okay. And sit next to what I learned was his dad. And then it happens that I started to have the questions, and I said, the question I wanted to ask, I said, this is what I heard, your tradition of, the rites of passage, and is it something that still exists today? And so the chief said, I'm very old now, but I'm going to let my son, answer. And he said, yeah, you are right. Now I don't do that because I am grown up and I'm married and I have a family, but it's still happening. And yes, there's still some bad things, happening. So I was able to really capture, that conversation and that experience. It was surreal because it was in the middle of nowhere, in this little village of those, basic, I would say, construction and house. And outside later, there was one of those kid from the village. I don't know, he was probably, I want to say 5 or 6. And my friend has his drone. So we took some pictures, from the sky, the village and the secret trees. But I have on the book a fantastic picture of, in fact, the landscape in the back. And then you have the drone on the left side, and you have this little kid from that village on the right side, and they kind of facing each other. And it's really 2 words apart, and I was wondering, what is in the head of that kid? What does he think when he sees this machine with that technology, and what he does like every day is taking the group of hunchback cattle, to go and eat grass, somewhere around the village.
Right.
So it was very emotional, as well. So that's one of the stories that happened. So I love that.
Can I ask you a question? So one of the topics that seems to come up a lot on this podcast is how no matter where you go in the world, like even though cultures are very different, traditions are very different, lifestyles are very different, even, obviously a third world country is so much different than what we're used to every day. But I feel like what we keep coming back to is at the root of things, people still at the very, very core, at the root, we're still very much the same. Like, did you get the feeling, like the sense that, like even in their tribe, like the tradition is very important, but the family comes first. The family is important. Sure. Making sure that they're safe and what like this, does that sort of...
Of course.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Security, safe.
Providing,
being able to feed their family. There is though some, I think it is important for when you travel is that, staying curious, staying open-minded, because as you just mentioned yourself, like those cultures are different. Yes, they have values that are the same, but there are things as well that might shock people because, you have been raised differently and you have been exposed to things. And they maybe have not been exposed to the same thing. So the reaction might be very different. So we need to be mindful of this and not being judgmental. This is something important. So
one thing I find a little bit, and we can move on, but one of the things that you mentioned that they still are doing this today with the rite of passage and,
yep.
Stealing someone else's animal.
Yep.
But if everyone kind of knows that that's what's happening.
Oh, there's a law that is forbidden. So, so that's against the law.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's why it's like, it's like really risky. So they do that. And, so yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
But, yeah.
Well, to me, to us it is, but it's not, I guess it's not crazy there. But,
yeah, for sure.
So is there anything else that you want to touch on from Madagascar, just giving the respect to that country and your affinity for it before we move on to maybe anywhere else in the world?
I think that's, obviously, going back to vanilla, because that's something that we on the Western world, will enjoy. And
very much take it for granted because it's everywhere.
And take it for granted, yes. But it's part of our culture. It's part of the nostalgia factor, in the kitchen, the smell of and the aroma of vanilla. That's, when you open like the oven, when, you're baking, like it's for me childhood memories, with my mom. And I'm sure it's the same with a lot of other people or with their grandmother or grandfather. And that tradition, it's that you want that it continues. And the thing is that then you need to realize that vanilla comes from that island. It's not part of their culture. They don't cook. That was kind of a shock for us as well when we talk with the farmers and ask, what do we do with vanilla? And they look at us if we had 3 heads and we say like, nothing. It's money. It's like, it's they export 99% of it, for us to enjoy it. But before the trip, I would say like everybody else, if you're in your kitchen and you have like maybe one of those vanilla beans that suddenly are a little dry, you are like, okay, you disregard it, put in the garbage. And I think since the trip, they are very well wrapped in plastic into a tin can. I take very good care of it. I don't buy that too often, a big number of beans because I don't want it to dry out, because I've seen what happened. There's a whole craft. There's tradition. There's people, taking care of the vanilla. Those farmers, which is their livelihood. They are. I don't know if you know, but vanilla is pollinated. The blossom, in fact, it's an orchid, that grows on the vine, and it's pollinated by hand. Every morning during the blooming season, they are pollinating, each flower to produce, the vanilla beans. Why? Because vanilla is originating from Mexico. There was an insect there that pollinated, but when the French took the vanilla and tried to grow the vine in other places around the world, the insects that they took with them never survived anywhere else than Mexico. So they have to, in fact, do it artificially, and then you have to do it. And I did it myself. So I have seen that, let's say step, which is, pollinating each flower. And then there's obviously the growing phase, and then there's the maturing phase. And it says, they said to me that the vanilla beans that you use in your kitchen, you have to keep in mind that about maybe 40 hands of Malagasy people have touch that beans one way or another, in the length of the process of producing that vanilla beans. So I have a very different, now look on, and perception, on these ingredients. And I think that's what I want to convey in the book. And when I talk about all those ingredients that are in kitchen around the world, that are produced over there, I show the landscape, so it's a food book, but it's a travel log as well. And then it talks a lot about the people behind each of those ingredients. And I think for me, the main takeaway is, when you consider those like ingredients, wherever they are coming from, be curious, understand the human dimension, behind those ingredients. Don't take it for granted. Or don't take them for granted.
Absolutely amazing. And I absolutely have a different appreciation. And it's crazy that you can, like, I can go to the dollar store and buy a little thing of a concentrated vanilla for $1 something.
Yeah.
But to think, and who knows, maybe that particular vanilla isn't part of that 80% that came from Madagascar. Maybe that's why it's so inexpensive.
Or maybe there's no vanilla in there.
Or maybe there's not actually. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. It's all artificial.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So one of the questions I don't typically ask, actually, for some reason, I don't know why. I just typically pick a place and we go. But let me ask you this, because you have been so many places all around the world. Let me just ask you, like, what are one or two of your favorite places that you've been where maybe you've just had some really extraordinary experiences that you can tell us about?
I don't know if I can share everything.
Well, you can share whatever you're willing to, as long as it's PG-13, but that's up to you.
Yeah, no, I know. But I was joking. But I think my favorite trip that I've taken with my youngest son is in Japan. It was before COVID, and I love to organize trips. So for me, organizing a trip is
it's part of the trip.
Yeah, 50% of the pleasure is like, before the trip, which is researching, places, because I don't want to go there and then I come back and then suddenly said, oh, you've been to Osaka, so have you seen this? And I'm like, oh, damn it. No, shoot. And now I have to go back, but when? So I'm like, that's not happening. So I know my family, my kids with that. But it's, I love to make a list of places. And of course, for me, start always around food. So there's going to be like all the cafes, all the bakeries, all the interesting restaurants, the food markets, I don't know, like Japan, it's like the whiskey bars, the Japanese whiskey bar, and so on and so forth.
Is that a thing? I did not realize that.
Yeah. Our Japanese whiskey.
That's a culture there.
Japanese whiskey is amazing. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great whiskey. So if you like whiskey, you should try it. But so I have all of this. Of course, there's the landmarks, and then we went there. So we have done Tokyo, Hakone, which is kind of a hot spring, area, which is not too far from the Mount Fuji. And then we went to Osaka and Kyoto. Because the other thing as well, I said to my kids from a young age, I hate going somewhere and then you do like everything in like 10 days. And I said, no, we focus, and then, I like to go deeper, and in fact, then there's an opportunity to come back maybe later. So we stay there for like 14 days, and we had a fantastic time. I had the chance, like Asia is not the place that I've visited the most. I've done Singapore twice. I've done Japan. I've done, what else I've done? I've been there somewhere else. No, I don't know. It will come back. But Japan was was amazing. And the people as well, so nice. And, the connection with locals. I love to, like, for instance, in the Hakone, where the hot springs, obviously there's a lot of hot springs. It's known for that. So there's big hot springs where there are a lot of tourists, and I don't want that. And I don't want to go, I want a quiet moment and enjoying the tradition, and not to have like a zillion of people shouting. I was, in a traditional home, and that was owned by two sisters, and they had a bakery next to the Airbnb I was renting with my son. And so I talked to one of them and I said, hey, I'm looking for an advice, for a hot spring and experience a hot spring. And, I've seen a lot of them, but very busy, big, a lot of tourists. And she said, oh, but I have one at home. I have a hot spring in my garden, and there's a gazebo, on top of it, and, everything is closed. And I think, please come. And I'm like, wow. So, at the end of the day, don't worry, you do whatever you want to do, with your son around, and then I will come and pick you up at 7, and, and I will drive you back after. So I was like very surprised. It's very kind. And my son.
And how old was your son at this time?
Yeah, exactly. So my son was probably 20 maybe.
Okay.
I would say. You have to think about it now. Anyhow, so and then so he asked me, he said, Dad, tell me, what is that story about hot spring? Explain it to me. So I explained to him, and as soon as I said to him, and then there's a room where we undress, and then we go into the hot spring, and said, you mean we are naked? I said, yes, we are. And he said, okay, you're going, I'm staying in the Airbnb. I'm like, you are going to miss something. And he said, no, Dad. And then at 7:00 sharp, she came and picked me up, said, where's your son? I'm like, he decided to stay. Oh, that's too bad. This is a great experience. But that was fantastic, because we went to her house. She said, here's the entrance. You can enjoy it. You can stay an hour. When you're done, just ring the doorbell and I drive you back. And that's what I've done. It was pitch black. And, obviously you go inside this, this hot spring that, come directly from the ground. And, everything is super clean. And then, she drove me back. And the next day when I left the Airbnb and we were checking out, I said, okay, how much do I owe you for that experience? And she said, sir, you were my guests, so you don't have to pay anything. So that was amazing. So for me, this is the type of connection with people, and when I travel, that I love. And again, just be curious, ask questions, be very candid, respect people, and you're going to experience things that you would not have otherwise.
Yeah.
So Japan was good, and that's
I think people get nervous, especially in other countries, especially if there's any sort of language barrier about,
sure.
I don't want to ask this, or I don't want to
sure.
assume that, or whatever. But I think most people, they want to share what they have. Most people, I know I'm the same way. People don't know this. I don't think I've shared it on the podcast. I have an arcade in my dining room with a bar. And
oh, wow.
I love to share.
Sure.
If somebody wants to come by and hang out for a little bit. Absolutely. I'm not I don't go out of the house a lot and go to different places and do whatever, but I still love to share what I have. And I think, not everyone has that, but she has hot springs in her yard.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I imagine that had to be just beautiful and peaceful.
It was beautiful, peaceful. Everything that you imagine about like a Japanese garden. There was a lot of those, small trees and a lot of rocks. And of course, it was, there's a when you arrive, there's a flat area where you have those little stool, for a typical low, not the most comfortable for someone who is not used to it, but where you have to sit on it and take your shower, clean yourself, and so on, because you have to do that before entering the spring, the hot spring. So, but and then there's no one, there's no other house on the other side. It's dark, but there's a little bit of lights, and you can admire the garden. Everything is like glass. So you're like, okay, I'm naked. I hope there's not a lot of, neighbors around, but no, there's, it's you just have to go for it. And that's, the beauty of it. And, we discover as well, like fantastic food, street food in Osaka, which I didn't know. I never been to Japan before. Obviously, we know the sushi, we know the ramen, which is fantastic, but the street food in Osaka is amazing. So the variety and the skewer, a lot of seafood, obviously, but that was really amazing. So
what
son is always telling me, when are we going back?
What are the little round balls that they flip and stuff on?
Oh yeah, I don't remember the name of it, but there's the one that contains like octopus, in fact, in there. So it's a piece of octopus with like dough,
And they're flipping them so fast. It's not teppanyaki or whatever, is it? Is that what it's called?
Maybe. I'm getting old and I don't remember. I have to look at that.
And while you're looking at that, I have to ask, because Japan is on my very, very short list of where I'm going to go.
Yeah, takoyaki. Yep.
Takoyaki. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
No. That's fine.
It's definitely on my short list, and obviously I want to see Tokyo, because I think if you go to Japan and you don't at least have a stop in Tokyo, you probably do yourself a disservice. But I've heard fantastic things about Kyoto and Osaka, and I definitely want to get to at least one of those. I just don't know if I can do both in one trip.
Oh yeah, you can, because you have to experience the high-speed train, the bullet train, which is super fast, and you can go from Tokyo to Kyoto, and then Kyoto Osaka is very close. So you can, we went there 14 days, and we have done those, what I mentioned. So Tokyo, Hakone, Kyoto, and Osaka, and back to Tokyo. So yeah, and we didn't rush, so that was really good.
Yeah.
So it is feasible.
What was Kyoto like for you?
Kyoto is like a postcard. Kyoto is very serene, very calm. There's one or two little rivers or stream like in the middle of the town, and we had an Airbnb, on the edge of one. But a lot of temples, the bamboo forest, which is not too far. Yeah, it's serene. It's calm. So a lot of, if you love coffee, the culture of like coffee roaster and fantastic coffee shops. So that's my memory. Some tiny bars, which for me that was the most surprising. I read about it, but it's like you have bars that are in places that you need to know where it is, because it's not like on like the streets. It's maybe an inside garden, or it's like you said, oh, there's a bar, and then someone show you like a building, and it's like, oh, it's on the third floor, and you're like, what? but they are condominium. No, but there's a bar there. I'm like, okay. So and then you enter, and then they said, okay, that you can come, that's fine. How many are you? I said, we are 2, and said, okay. So, and basically there's 5 seats, and that's it. And then and the bartender is taking care of you the whole whatever the time you want to stay. And then some have no menus, and you're just like, they ask you, hey, what do you like? What's profile of drinks usually you are into, and then they make you, there are things there for you to discover. I love that, and that was really, it's really great. Yeah. It is. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful. It's like such a unique experience in my mind, because you think of a bar here in America, it's the complete opposite of that. There's 20 seats at the bar, and there's top tables and loud, and tons of TVs, and there's probably not even a television in those bars.
It's a different experience, It's nothing wrong to go with a friend and have a bar and have a beer, at a sport bar in the US, but I mean, completely different things. It's completely different. Sake, yeah, sure, of course. My son loves sake as well. So we had like different tastings and, of sake. So yeah.
And I think people don't understand here in the US either, because when you go to, a restaurant or somewhere where they serve sake, it's a whole thing. Like, it's not, sake just isn't just sake. It's like a whiskey or or tequila, where you think, I tried tequila and it's nasty. Well, you haven't tried the right tequila.
Exactly. Or mezcal or whatever. And yeah, absolutely. And then, if you go there, the choice on the menu is going to be amazing as well. So first, there's always like someone explaining to you and guiding you to make a choice, on the beverage, like the sake or Japanese whiskey, which is great too.
Well, first off, I love the fact the first thing you said about Kyoto was a postcard. I love the visual of that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very different. Osaka is very dynamic, very modern. Obviously, Tokyo is as well. I mean, there's so many districts in Tokyo, but Osaka is it's a completely different vibe. But so it's nice to experience both.
Yeah. Again, it's definitely very high on my list. So definitely a place I
should
get to.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's say I cannot believe I just looked at the clock and I can't believe that we're already.
I know. I like to talk
well over an hour. No, I know, and it's fantastic. And I've told guests before, like I've had people actually say, I won't get into too much detail. I'm like, no, get into as much detail as you can. The best thing that could happen is we get through 2 stories because they were so impactful for you.
Yeah.
But so you and I are sitting down at a bar, let's say in Kyoto, and we're having some sake or we're having some Japanese whiskey, and we just start talking travel. What are some of the? I think I'd be remiss if we didn't get to like some of the favorite stories, the funniest things that have ever happened to you in travel, or the most interesting things.
Can I share the one I shared with you? When I went to Finland. I will stay clean, but
you can go as far as you want as long as you don't use profanity.
No.
I've had people talk about some crazy stuff.
I would never.
But go for it.
It's it's. I was young, and it was probably the first year after I started working, so I was probably 25, and then I was traveling with the guy who was in charge of the agents in Scandinavia. So fantastic. I discovered, as I said, Denmark, which I love, Sweden, Norway, and Finland. And then, so traveling with him, first time we went to Finland, Helsinki, and then we go to the hotel and he said, okay, so again, it's always going to be another naked story. I said, you need to come to, you need to come to the sauna. And I'm like, so French, there's no tradition. There's no sauna tradition in France. So, and I'm like, okay, so explain to me. So again, explain to me like the different steps. And I'm like, okay, I pass. And he said, you stupid. He was probably my age than I am now. And, I was 25 or whatever, 26. And then, and so we do a second trip, maybe 2 months after. He said, Emmanuel, this time you have to. And I'm like, okay, let's stop being young and stupid, and you need to expand. So I went with him, and that was obviously amazing, very relaxing. So I have 2 stories after that, one in Sweden and one in Finland. One in Sweden is the fact that again, now I don't remember the year it was, but it was definitely, I would say, yes, I know I'm going to date myself here, age myself. It's like 1990. No, maybe more like, I don't remember now. It was before 2000 for sure. So anyhow, and then, so we are in Sweden. I do a customer presentation. It's a small group, 3 guys that I'm presenting. I don't remember which industry it was, but it was in Sweden, either in Malmö or, another city. And then it's, it's going to be lunchtime. So we did it in the morning, and, everyone is in suit. At that time, it was still like suit, ties, and all of that. And said, hey, you can stay for lunch, and let's have a sauna first. And I'm like, what? It's like it's a business, like meeting and so on. And so the guy that you are in suit with, like 2 seconds before, and now you're naked with the same group, in the sauna. So it's a little kind of weird, So, but okay, that's the way it is, and it's very natural, but okay. So that was one story. The other story is in Finland. So in Finland, the one like that I'm describing in Sweden is, it's part, again, a tradition, but it's, it's gender separate. So you have, the sauna for men and the sauna for women. When you go to traditional sauna in Finland, this is a completely different game. I discovered that the gender are not separate, is everyone together. So we are doing a whole customer experience. I think it was like alcoholic beverage company in Finland. And we decided in the winter to go in Lapland. So Lapland is, super, super amazing landscape. It's, all you feel that all the trees, the pine trees are turned into like candles, because there's so much snow, so thick. And then you do a lot of a snowmobile, and then, you work as well, but there's some, leisure activity. And then, you have the Nordic Lights, which is, again, something amazing. So we decided that one evening that we will take everyone with the snowmobile experience. Everyone has their own. So you have to put, all the warm clothes and the boots and the helmets and the gloves, and you go at night, obviously, because it's winter, so it's very early. Nights, you see all the forest and like the Nordic Lights. And then we are going into a restaurant, which is a typical restaurant, traditional, which is into like a cave. So it's all about candle lights and so on. So we park the snowmobile, and I'm get ready. I'm like, okay, I'm hungry. Let's go. And said, oh, no. First, we have a sauna. I'm like, oh boy. Oh, you have a sauna. So I'm like, okay. So now, it's very dark. We are outside. It's cold. And I'm looking around. I'm like, where's your sauna? Because, it's a cave, rest is rocks and whatever. So I'm like, yes, look, there's a shed here. So over there. So now I see that's the shed. And then you see, and then there's the lake next to it. And you see there's a hole, there's a ladder. So, when you're done with the sauna, then you can dip yourself in the lake. I'm like, what? And I said, okay, but we are, I don't know, we were 25 maybe, men, women from 25 years old to 60. We were only 5 from our company. And then, the rest is a customer. I said, okay, now where's the lockers? I mean, what do you mean lockers? There's no lockers. There's a porch. I said, what do you mean there's a porch? Outside, there's a porch? Oh, yeah. Just, that's fine. You put all your stuff and then you enter the sauna. And I'm like,
this sounds like something you do when you're like 15 at a creek somewhere or something, yes. And a bunch of kids hanging out and they're like,
your bench
let's
friends,
go skinny dipping.
But not with people that you never seen in your life.
Professionals
that are your customers.
Oh,
and then so here we go. And then we are like, so undressed, but naked, like on the porch, enter the sauna. We are like 25. The sauna is pitch black because it's a traditional sauna. So the walls are, with a lot of smoke. And then, and then you have like the, like the fire in the middle and the stones. And then you have 2 half circle, of stones, which are kind of bench, in stones. And then you have 2 different levels and everyone is sitting. So I am on the first row. And then, I try to, think and try to find the most comfortable position. And then suddenly I feel someone whipping my back with like branches. And I didn't realize that there's buckets of water on both sides of those benches. And there's like birch trees, branches there that are dipped into the water. And then they use that for the blood flow and to, activate the blood circulation. And so there's a young woman behind me, which is like, having fun and, whipping my back with the branches. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he said, oh, but this is for your blood flow circulation. And I'm like, I think my blood flow is really well. I have no need. I'm good. And then, so I'm like, where am I? What's going on here? And then, so we do that and then said, now it's getting hot and sweating. And then we are like, okay, now you have 2 solutions. Like you go to the lake and then all you roll, in the snow. So I'm like, I have to quickly decide. I'm like, the lake, it's going to take a long time. Yeah, then there's a ladder. It's a wood ladder in wood. I can slip. No, and the lake, the water is going to be super cold. There's ice, and like, So at least rolling in the snow, it's kind of quick. So I went for that. So we were like, all you can imagine. I don't know how many people that are their body are smoking because, under the moon, and then we are rolling in the snow and then we run back to, to the traditional sauna. And then, and everyone is, very friendly, very happy and very natural. No issue whatsoever. Only the 5 guys that are, from France that looking at each other, that we rather not look at each other, but, and we are like, what are we doing here? And then that's it. And then, then went outside, they give us after that. So we probably roll in snow twice, go back and then got like a towel and then push our clothes back on. And we went having dinner in the restaurant.
And you never look at your coworkers again the same way ever again.
Definitely. Definitely. Imagine, you at the bank. See? So,
I only work with all my employees are women. So
here we go. But in Finland doesn't matter. So that's another story. People that are listening is probably, this guy is nuts. I mean, it's a 2-story and it's both naked in that story. So sorry guys, it's
I think
you asked for fun stories.
Naked.
So here we go.
That's 3 or 4 total naked stories. I think we've got a trend established now, Emmanuel.
Yeah, you are not going to invite me now in your
our next work retreat. It's going to be
exactly. You're going to say, by the way, there's a sauna. I'm like, damn it. So so, but now almost I had to find another one which is not so naked related. I feel bad. I mean, no one is going to buy the book. I promise there's none of that in the book, in the Taste of Madagascar.
The cover is
PG.
The cover of the book is your backside steaming.
No. It's trees. It's the tree of life.
Okay, perfect. Oh my gosh, that's absolutely hilarious.
I made you laugh at least, so that's good. I hope the people that will be listening will laugh as well, because that's that's what
it's wonderful.
It's for.
Well, first of all, I'll say this. I think without a doubt, we absolutely have to do this again sometime down the road, because we have not touched on
other countries.
Not even probably a fifth of what you do. And I'm not necessarily in a rush.
Cuba, and Peru. I've been to Costa Rica. I love Panama. One thing I could say to people here in the US, people never think about Panama, as a destination. Absolutely go to Panama. I'm going there in March. I'm not saying that you have to come with me, but you go to Panama. It's a very easy flight. It's not that far. And then there's no change. They use American dollars, and it's very safe. Obviously, Americans were there for more than 100 years for the Panama Canal. And the food is, it's one of the country of Central America, which I think the food is really interesting, and you find something more interesting than rice and beans, which I have nothing against it. But if you stay several days, after 5 days of rice and beans, I have enough. I want to try something else, and Panama is great. So definitely, not maybe a long story there, but it's a small country, and you can go on both sides, the Caribbean side and the Pacific side, in one day. And then there's amazing islands. There's amazing coffee, area, forest. There's a volcano as well, like in Costa Rica. So something that people should put on their list.
Well, and that's actually what I was going to ask you next, is because I have spent time in Costa Rica. I've been there 4 or 5 times, and I absolutely love it. I've not been to Panama, but would you recommend, if somebody could do a 10 or maybe a 12-day trip, maybe do that, like spend 4 or 5, 6 days in Panama or 4 or 5, 6 days in Costa Rica, since they're neighbors?
Yeah,
exactly. Would that be
a
trip you would recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because obviously, for everything which is nature, beautiful. It's there's so much variety in landscape between like the shore. If people love surfing, and territory with all the hot spring as well. I hope you've been there, and I hope you enjoyed the hot spring. Near the volcano, they are fantastic. And there's all the park with the lemurs and the
sloths and monkeys.
Yes, exactly. So there too on the southeast. So for sure, Costa Rica is great for that. But then Panama is a different vibe. I haven't done too much in the forest, like the volcano and so on. I'm going there in March this time. But the Panama City and the old Panama City called Casco Viejo it's fantastic. The food, as I said, is great. Of course, there's a Panama Canal. There's amazing parks. And then there's some islands, just outside of Panama City that are great, to go to. And then there's the other side, which is the Pacific Ocean, where, in fact, you can, enjoy this 300 islands that are still owned by Indian tribes there, which had the chance to go there. I have to be careful because there's probably another naked story somewhere, but but the because it's a small island and there's the structure are not very well developed, so there's missing doors and shower. But otherwise, I would not stay there more than 2 nights, but because there's no connection, there's absolutely no network. But then it's like amazing, they say for lunch or dinner, you are like, what do you want? Said, you want the lobster? Sure, go with lobster. So they go and they dive and then they come back with the lobster coming outside of the ocean. Do you want octopus? I'm like, yeah, okay. So, and they do the same thing. Like, it's amazing. Like the fish and everything is super fresh.
You're not kidding. Literally, we'll go out and
kidding.
It's not
in them.
It's not that they went out that morning and this is the fresh catch of the day.
No. This is the moment that you order. So
that is incredible.
Yeah. So the lobster came out and then they kill it in front of me and grill it. Sorry for the vegetarian, but
where? This is in Panama. Where is it?
This is in Panama, and it's called.
This is unbelievable. I've never heard of this in my life.
Islands. I'll show you the picture when I come to your place.
Yeah.
Islands, Panama. What's the name of it? Something Blas.
I've just never had seafood that fresh, ever.
It's called San Blas Islands. It's called the San Blas Islands that are an archipelago of 360 small islands. And mine island was, and I found it through Airbnb. And my island was, I think it took me 20 minutes to do the walk, like the complete tour of the island. But then you have...
Is it a quick boat or a quick flight to get to the island?
It was, in fact, what happened is they organized everything. So I was in my Airbnb in Panama City. There's a 4-wheel drive that came and picked me up early morning. And then you do 4 hours of driving to go on the other side of the Panama. And then there you go to a little harbor, and then you have a little boat. I think we were maybe 2 or 3 on the boat. And then and then you go and you have to trust because you have no idea. And then so they take you to, so they will drop like first person in one island, and then the other guy that was on the boat with me to another island, and finally they dropped me on my island. And then I had like a shed on the comfort is, you have to keep in mind that it's not, a 3-star hotel. It's like a shed with, a bed on, but it's on the beach. So you have only fantastic views with like turquoise water, and then hammocks that you can relax. No connection, so you better take a book, or maybe you should write a book there. And then and that's it. And then they take you. They organize like if you want to see. One day I went on their little boats, and then they took me to a place which kind of a plateau in the water, and then in the ocean, and there's all like they call it like the starfish field. So it's full of starfish, like on this white. So it's turquoise water and like white sand. And then you see, all the starfish. And then you can get outside of the boat and you can walk around because, you don't have to swim. You can, it's high enough. And then you can admire all the starfish and, so and then you have dolphins and it's amazing.
And it's enough solitude and privacy that you can be
solitude.
Naked on your hammock if you want to be. So we've established.
No. There was none of that.
We've established that you're an exhibitionist now.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. My gosh. No, not at all.
Are you adventurous? Like, do you do like kayaking, whitewater rafting, zip lining, things like that?
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
I do that. When I was in Madagascar, there's a picture in the book where, in fact, there is a national park on one side of the island, which is very well known. It's called Singhi de Bar. Every time I don't remember the second part of it, but I always say Singhi. But it's a structure of like needle of no. It's very we see it a lot of. It's called Singhi de Bemara. And then you have those very pointy limestone, in fact, structure with the erosion that have been through it. It looks almost that you are in another planet. And then there's 5 hours, in fact, via ferrata. I don't know if you know what via ferrata is. That's an expression. So they built like metallic like ladders, and then you have to use a harness, and then you have to climb. And so on. So I've done that for 5 hours. And then you have like a suspended bridge, which I think it's, don't remember how high it is, but it's quite high. And then you have to cross the suspension bridge. That's amazing. So I love to do that,
No.
And no, yeah.
No. I'll do, I've done whitewater on a low grade. Yeah. I'll do the easy, the weak stuff. And I've done ziplining, which I love, by the way. I love ziplining.
Oh, yeah. But I've done it I hope you've done it in Costa Rica.
Because that's amazing. That was the only place I've ever done it. And I've mentioned it on here before. And it was about, I want to say it was 12 or 13, maybe a little bit more, actually. Whatever you want to call it, from one tree to another, one place to another. But at the canopy of the rainforest, and it was just...
Oh, yeah.
I just kind of forget the fact that I'm that high and just, wrap my legs the way I'm supposed to and just sort of enjoy it. And I didn't close my eyes at all. But I'm not a heights.
Otherwise, you don't see anything.
Oh my gosh, and I've mentioned this before too, like to look down and see a waterfall below you while you're passing over, it's just, it's incredible. But bungee jumping,
good memories. No, I don't. No, no. There's no way. There's no way I attach my legs to like an elastic cord and say like, sayonara.
You're right.
No,
right.
You are no. That's not for me. Not even like I will not do either. You call it like sky something, whatever.
Skydiving type.
Skydiving, yeah. No, not for me. Mm-hmm.
No. I think ziplining that's the max for me. That's the max.
No, but that's really 5 hours of climbing and in that structure over there on that park was that's amazing. That was really something that I will always remember. So it was fine, and, because I asked the night before and I said because I had a guide that will with me, and then I said, okay, you have to tell me, look at me, can I do it, and so on. He said, last week I had a 77-year-old woman and no issue. She has done it. So I'm like, okay, so let's go for it. And yeah, it was fine. I mean, there was spot that was not that easy, but yeah, I thought it was funny the way how he said it.
So you can climb as well as a 77-year-old woman. That was great. She was probably a very good
great summary, man. Bill, thank you.
Of course. So, okay. Well, I mean, I think in the interest of time, I really genuinely hate to say this. I really do. But before we get to I have 5 final questions that I'd like to get to. But,
oh, man. I'm trying to be short. I promise. I try.
No. Again, and I only anything I do when I say this stuff is just in the interest of mostly your time. But I also understand people get, they drive when they listen to these. They don't hear the whole thing, whatever. And I want everyone to be able to listen to the whole thing. But before I do that, just because I want to respect, you've been so many places. Is there anything else that you just have to tell us this before we move on to the end? Any other place that you've been that stands out to you as a
Peru. Peru was amazing. It's a long trip, obviously, from the US. But I had a chance to go to Peru, to Lima, obviously the capital. But I went to, oh my gosh, I'm getting old. Peru, the Machu Picchu.
Machu Picchu, yeah.
Machu Picchu, which is, I went for work, but I stayed to go to Cusco and Machu Picchu. And I will highly recommend. I didn't do the whole hike. Some people that do the whole hike. I thought that would be a bit too much for me. especially because you need to adapt yourself to the altitude. Cusco is even higher than Lima. So I went there and I spent a whole day in a whole night in Cusco.
Yeah,
maybe 2 nights in Cusco before.
It's not quite enough. It's not quite enough. So we did the same thing. Yeah.
Oh, you went there? Okay.
Yes.
So, and then Machu Picchu. So I had the chance to go there. I had a guide, and the guy said to me, you wait. I have to wait for someone else. So we arrived just before the opening of the park, and then the site, and then he said I have to wait for another person. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man, but it's opening now. I'm not going to stay like half an hour outside. I've done all of this. So you tell me where we meet in the park. I'm going to enter the park on my own, and then we meet in there. So I was almost like the only one. And I've seen the whole site with absolutely nobody. No, and I have pictures where there's absolutely no other tourists, which in fact is very rare because usually, there's plenty of people. And I was there, at the opening, and I asked him, where should I go first, where people are not going, where I have the best view. So he said, go there, do that. And so I said, okay, I'll wait for you there. So I spent a half hour almost meditating in front of that fantastic site. So I will recommend. I mean, you've been there, so you know what I'm talking about. You experienced it.
Yeah. We did. So yeah, we did the same thing. We went to Cusco, I think, for two nights before we went, and actually, we stayed a full night in Aguascalientes. I loved Aguascalientes.
Oh, well, okay.
It's a really cool little town.
Oh,
and
it is.
So we got there in the afternoon.
With a big market.
Yes. Oh yeah. As soon as you get off the train, I thought that was amazing. I thought it was wonderful, and so. We went to the afternoon the first time when we first got there. We went and did the afternoon entrance, and then we stayed and went the next morning first thing again. Like you said, we actually did not the highest mountain, which I believe is Huayna Picchu, but there's another one, and I can't think of the name of it that you can climb up as well. And we did that, and honestly,
nice, good.
To be there in the morning when you're literally at cloud level and like watching the clouds kind of roll by you and kind of lift a little bit. Yeah. We actually saw a rainbow when we were up there at one point, cool. Which was just beautiful. Nice. And yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. I can't physically probably do the hike like some people do.
Yeah.
To go all the way from wherever it is.
Several days. Yeah.
Yeah. But being there is... You can't put it into words.
For sure.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So, okay.
So what are your 5 questions?
Yeah. Can we before I do this, can we agree that we will keep our clothes on but do this again sometime?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
I just want to make sure that everyone understand that the camera is off on your side, it's on my side, and I am fully clothed.
Okay, he is. Full disclosure, he is fully clothed. He is fully clothed. Okay, so and you're going to keep traveling, and I'm actually going to keep traveling as well.
Cool. What's your next?
Well, let's see. So by the time this airs, I will be 2 days from leaving for New Zealand.
Wow, that's amazing. Never been there. Ooh, yeah, I'm excited. So you have to tell me, how he was.
Yeah, everyone knows my daughter lives there, so I'm going to see her and her boyfriend before they move to Australia later this year. So that'll be my next trip, probably next year. So
nice. Nice. Okay,
so this may be the most difficult question for you that of any guest I've ever had, and I've had over 52 now. So
good
that I've recorded at least. Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry to ask you this.
Oh boy!
Of all the places in the world that you have ever been. What is the most memorable meal experience you have ever had outside of your home? And I say experience specifically because sometimes it's not just the food. And you don't have to pick just one if you've got a couple.
Problem is I do 60 to 70 tasting a year, so you imagine my dilemma here.
I know. That's why it's probably the toughest for you of anyone.
That's true. And the experience, I have to go fast, like through. I think it's again, it's go back to connection with people, and I think it is in Cuba where in fact, so it's not about it's not about like it's not a heavy food, but it's in fact, I was in an Airbnb. The Airbnb was owned, or let's say the other guy living there in the couple, but the connection with the guy there. He was the former manager of all the cigar factories in Cuba, and he was, now retired, and of course there's no pension and so on. So he was a taxi driver. But with my broken Spanish, we tried to connect, and it was funny because the morning there was like an interior court, and he had his, they have the apartments, on the balcony, in the interior balcony on maybe on one side, and then I was with my kids, and on the other side, and then everything was open in the morning, and so I could see him that he was waiting for me to get ready. And then and he was like, "You ready for breakfast?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So then he was doing like the Cuban coffee for me, and then he was preparing breakfast. And so the breakfast, I cannot even remember, but it was very traditional. But it was the memory, the experience, in being this very traditional Cuban house with that guy that had a fantastic professional life before, and with the responsibility. Now he was a taxi driver, but he was so excited to talk to me about all the memories of his experience, when he was in charge of the production of, cigars in Cuba. And for me, it was unique. I mean, in order to hear those stories. So I think that was for me one of the most memorable. So it was a food moment, but it was not about the food. It was about the company and the storytelling.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Human connection, I think, is if it's not the best part about true travel, it's up there. I mean,
sure.
I think you're doing yourself a disservice.
That's what stays and remain. That's so the experience that remained the most, because, as I said, I taste so many wonderful food, done by chefs, across the country, and when I travel somewhere, I make sure that I experience, that as well when I go. So if you ask me that question now, I will almost, is like you should have sent me the question. I'm not saying that you should have, but and then in advance, and I will have, okay, let's remember, or let's me look at pictures, and because otherwise there's too many of it.
Yeah, no, so. And I purposely don't. I try to encourage my guests to.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you should have done it per se.
Yeah. But that's the reason I do it. Like, I'm sure you understand, but that's the reason I do it, is because the answer that you give is going to be something that truly stuck out in your mind, and not something you had to.
I know what it is. Back, I have as well. I end my podcast episode on rapid fire questions, so I completely understand.
Yep. And I love it. I love the off the cuff. But I also, and I hope that my regular listeners will start to really, if you didn't believe it ahead of time, I hope that you'll understand now that, like, when we're saying this about the human connection part of travel, and we've also drawn a line before on the podcast about, going on a vacation is one thing, but truly traveling is something different.
Exactly.
And traveling involves some more immersion and some more
preparation.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And I hope that if one person listens to this and says, you know what, I need to travel to not just to another state or something, but maybe even get out of the country and go somewhere to another culture and meet some people and get to understand them.
But go to the state as well. Is for me, it's like,
oh, for sure.
And again, it's going to be food related, but it's like, I love to go to farmers markets because I can talk with the people, I can understand their stories. They can give me some advice about other things to buy or to eat, and then I love to do it like based on the season. So I'm not buying any tomatoes at the moment because that's not the season of tomatoes. So, but because you need to have the things at the peak of when they are ripe. And but the idea for me, it's like, take the time to go and engage with people, and I would rather pay maybe $1 more, my whatever pound of whatever I'm buying, but to have that human connection, and then the quality ingredients. So
yes, absolutely. And even not just farmers markets here, but markets in other countries, people are proud. People are proud of what they're putting out
absolutely,
there. Bookshops, like you said, bookshops, like people who are crafters or what, like these people who have these little shops, they're very prideful of what they do. And you'll find that they're all very, very, very happy to talk. And so you can really spend as much time as you'd like getting to know other people and other cultures. So, and enriching your own life at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
True.
Question number 2, maybe my favorite. And I know it makes some people uncomfortable, but you can take this.
I've heard everything we shared. Go for it.
It's a different type of question. So of all the places in the world that you've ever been, even if I said to you, Emmanuel, here is a free trip, where would you say, no, thank you, I do not want to go back, or I do not need to go back?
Oh,
if there is a place. I never used to add that caveat, but sometimes.
Oh my God! So then you have again making enemies here.
New Jersey was on the list once, actually. So sorry to tell you that.
Oh no, that's fine. Nobody's perfect, you know. So things that I will not come back to. I'm scanning quickly the globe in my mind here. Man, that's a tough one. Free trip, but then I'm not going there. I mean, usually I don't like. No, that's not true, because Panama, that's going to be my trip number 6. So I've been back, because I said usually I don't go often twice in the same place, but.
And listen, just to be fair, like it's very possible that there isn't a place that you wouldn't go.
No, but it's. Usually I always find something. Oh, I'm going to have. It's in the US, and people are not going to appreciate that, but it's Okay, so I'm not into like very high like touristic places and so on. And every time I have families that come from France and so on, they want to see the Niagara Falls, and I'm like, I've seen it once. It's beautiful, but and then it goes with going to Buffalo, and I'm sorry for the people from Buffalo, but
I'm from south of Buffalo.
Yes, that's true. I remember that. And I have another friend of mine that, his family's from there. But he says as well, like, yeah, I understand. So I love like the Finger Lakes, area. And then, so I love to go there. But then, so Niagara Falls, sorry, it's beautiful, but it's such a tourist trap area that I think go on my nerves every time someone says, I want to bring someone somewhere else, and I said, let's drive south, let's go to Charleston. Where these days there's nothing in Charleston. Why we go to Charleston? And I'm like, I want to go to Niagara Falls. I'm not coming. No, not again. So sorry.
No,
so that's probably the place that I will skip. My Buffalo area friends and Canadian friends, but okay.
No, it's very specific, and it makes complete and total sense. That's one of the few places I think that like it's not changing. It is what it is. True. And it will always be what it is today. And so you've seen it, you've done it. I get it. Okay, well let's transition into some easier questions.
Third one. Okay.
Yep. Number 3, of all the places in the world that you have been, if you only had 1 or 2 trips left in your life, and that's all you have left, where are those 1 or 2 places that you have to go again? It doesn't have to be Panama, but
Japan. Okay. Japan, without hesitation, definitely. I'll go back. I'll go back tomorrow. So yeah.
And are you going back to the same places you've been, or are you exploring more of the country?
No. I will probably go to. Yeah, probably I will fly into Tokyo. So, but I will. We stay 5 nights into Tokyo. So I think I will definitely cut that short. And then, I will definitely want to go back to Kyoto. We stay only 2 nights in Hakone just to enjoy the hot spring again. I will probably stay longer. No, I'm kidding. But there's probably definitely other part of the island that I will go to. Yeah, I have some that I have already started researching. So yeah,
excellent. Okay, number 4. Of all the places in the world that you have never been.
Yes.
Once again, if you only have 1 or 2 trips left in your lifetime, for whatever reason, 1 or 2 left, where are those 1 or 2 places?
I'm going to carry your luggage. I'm going to go with New Zealand with you. That's on my list, but I haven't had the chance to go there. So,
if only I was flying through like Newark instead of Dallas.
Yeah, because where are you based again?
I'm based in Pittsburgh, but you
Pittsburgh.
you go the opposite way to get to New
Wow.
Zealand. So.
Okay. Yeah. True.
Yeah. So
Pittsburgh. Okay. But the New Zealand is on the list. I'm excited. I'm going to Istanbul in May, so that I'm excited. I've never been there. But yeah, New Zealand. That's on the list.
Okay.
So that's why when I said let me know how it was and give me some tips, it's because I definitely want to go there.
Yeah, I absolutely will. And thank you for transitioning us into the final question. Question 5 is, and obviously you know the answer to this question, where are you going? What is in the plans for the coming months and coming year or so?
March is Panama, and then a different region of Panama, and then May is Istanbul. So that's what I have. I don't think I have scheduled anything else. That's already, plus now I have, the promotion of the book as well. And I'm writing the third one. So I'm, keeps me busy.
Can you give any sort of tease as to what the third one is going to be trending toward?
It's completely different. I am trying to explore the world of fiction this time. So it's going to be a murder mystery in the restaurant area. So it will be still in the food, obviously, space, but it's a murder mystery. And a part of it is going to take place in Panama. So I'm going there for research.
That's a write-off. So very nice.
Here we go.
So and I can't wrap up with you yet. I just can't do it. What made you think to do that? I mean, people had to kind of nudge you to do the first book because you had so much knowledge. And
so that's really something personal here. It's almost like for me, giving me a challenge, which is, okay, I've written like 2 nonfiction, and then I ask my agent, I know it's strange when you say that, but that's what it is. And then, what is the, I have the idea. I want to give myself a challenge. I don't know if I will be able to do it or not, but I would love to write a fiction. And I said, so how do you feel about me switching from 2 nonfiction to fiction, and then maybe later back to nonfiction? She said, no, it's no issue at all. That's not a problem. And her advice was say, hey, stay in the food space because that's the space that you know very well. So I discover as well that when you write fiction, you need to do a lot of research, because even if you are making up a story, it's not a sci-fi, so I'm not imagining a world that doesn't exist. I'm a part of it is in Paris, another part is in Panama City, or Panama, and so I need to make it like realistic, for people that have been there, and so I do. There's a lot of research involved, and so I understood what she said, and I said, okay, that's a great advice, and so I've written 10 chapters now, and moving forward. So there's still, quite a bit. So maybe I've written like a third of it. So,
that's wonderful.
It is, it's interesting. It's a completely different, adventure, and so we'll see. We are not there yet. Usually I don't like to share too much in advance, but, I said, okay, well, the heck,
well, I only have like 3 listeners, so just those few people will get it.
I hope not for you. But
Yeah. This has been so much fun. I really do hope we can connect again down the road and do this again. I only have 1 repeat guest so far in the first year.
Oh, really?
But I'm hoping to have you back sometime maybe later on this year would be fantastic, especially after you've done some more travels and we can talk about your recent
maybe
stuff.
We can talk about Istanbul, Panama, and then you can talk about New Zealand.
Yeah,
there you go.
Absolutely.
So and I can ask you questions too. See?
Yeah, we could do a little more back and forth. I'd be all right with that. Honestly, I hope everyone checks out everything you have going on. Again, I'll have every link in the show notes in the description, and I hope they follow you, and really excited to see what you have coming up. Any ideas on when you think that you'd like to have that book ready?
Hey, my friend, I am promoting the new one here.
I know. I'm getting too excited about everything.
I don't know. Maybe, if it's 27, 28. I don't know.
A couple of years.
Okay.
It
It took me for both, the nonfiction, it took me 22 months to write each manuscript. So we'll see. I have a lot of things between my day job and then podcast and the promotion of the book and the writing on the other one. So I don't want to put too much like additional pressure on saying like it has to be done by. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you so much.
No date.
Emmanuel,
You're welcome, Bill. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I knew we would have fun, and I really had a lot of fun. So, is there any final words or notes or anything you want to just share before we hit stop?
There's, if people like to read, there's a fantastic book called A Taste of Madagascar that they should really, they read. So I'm joking because I use that, I think, for one of the posts on the promotion. The statistics is that in US, 49% of the adult population read one book a year. That's not a lot, huh? But I said, I hope this is mine. That's what I want to say. That's
absolutely. I will second that. So thank you again, my friend, and I hope that you have a wonderful night, and we'll talk soon. And there's another episode of the Where Have You Been podcast in the books. Thank you so much for listening today. It was another great guest with some great stories, as always, and I hope that you will support all of the guests by checking out the show notes and going to their web pages, seeing any socials and projects that they may have going on. And please, again, I'll ask as always to like, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It really does help to allow the podcast to grow and reach more people, and I appreciate you for doing that. Also, if you haven't done so, check out the website, whyvpodcast.com, where you can find blog posts. If you'd like to be a guest, please register to be a guest on the site, and check out the merch page. There's some really cool stuff if you're interested in representing the pod, along with some other cool travel items and apparel that I'm working on every day as well. Join me again next week for another great guest with more incredible stories. New episodes drop every Sunday just after midnight Eastern Time. Until then, thank you for being here, and have a great day.